I'd like to call the monthly meeting of the Bristol County Water Authority to order. It's Thursday, August 2025, and it is 5:01. Looking around, I don't see any members of the general public, so I don't expect to have any public input. I'll turn the next one over to the director on distribution of the annual report.
Yes, annual report. Beautiful looking book.
Thank you, Lauren.
Hand it all out to everybody. I had a couple of comments in my report, but since we're doing this,
Make one more.
I'd just like to thank the employees who helped provide content, photos, whatnot, to the report, and a special shout out goes out to Lauren, who really stepped up because she pulled this all together. In the past, we have hired a firm that created the report. It was, you know, the price kept on going up, and last year about $13,000, and even at that, they told us kind of late in the game this year that they couldn't do it at that price, and they were going to look at probably around 20 grand. And so I talked over Lauren. She's like, I can do this, and you know, with some publishing software, she pulled it all together. Dude, fantastic job. Looks great. So we're saying congratulations. You paid for the printing.
Where'd you get that nice picture of me?
It's a high school picture, isn't it?
Oh, I had hair. Yes.
Our next item on the agenda is approval of minutes, both for the board meeting on July 24th and the special board meeting on August 6th. Do I have a motion to approve the board meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, comments, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the board meeting minutes for July 24th, say aye.
Aye.
I should probably abstain since I wasn't here.
You know, the secretary.
Yeah, I don't know.
The next is the minutes for the special board meeting on August the 6th.
So we did both of them.
Do I have a motion to approve those?
Motion to be approved. Second. I thought we just approved both of them at the last one, didn't we?
No, I just singled out the first one.
Okay, motion to be approved.
Second. Any discussion, corrections, omissions? No, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain from abstention.
Now the executive director report. Steve?
Yep. Okay, for the Kentucky Pipeline project, we had the project manager came in earlier this month, gave a status update on the project, as well as a discussion on the amendment, which is before you this evening as an agenda item. For the demo of the plant, I'm not going to speak too much about that, so we have an agenda item on that as well, but as you all know, we received no responses after 2 months of having the RFP out on the street. I did provide some recent news articles that were within the local newspaper on the RFP and the buildings. And we started pre-design work with Power Corporation on the proposed new operations and maintenance garage. For the dam removal project, nothing took place this month. We're looking to get a final schedule from the contractor with respect to plantings and final cleanup, and anticipate that taking place sometime this early fall. Power Corp continues to work on the Shad factory pipeline design plans, and I know something that the BCW Properties Committee, notably Director Martin, Director Vales have put together items on the BCW properties, and this was something that I had already started, so, but essentially going to put together kind of a property portfolio, and then, the Properties Committee we can meet and start looking at these properties and maybe prioritizing which ones we want to focus on, and kind of develop a long-term plan for the authority on all these properties. But particularly since we don't, no longer need them as watershed properties. But it's going to contain, have maps of the assessors and tax information, the usage and deeds and any deed restrictions associated with any of the properties. It's going to be pretty sizable. So.
Steve, one request. Can you
Yeah.
make a comment if you think there's any need for any of the properties in your mind for any reason? Just a comment on the couple.
Sure. I'm either going to say that kind of when we get into meetings and discussions.
Okay, all right.
I think for now it's just going to kind of give just the factual information.
Okay, fine. All right.
Were there any additional ones from what
I did find one that wasn't on that list, and there's a piece of property and I talked to one about it head, and it was a surprise to me, but it's a piece of property is a block away from here,
Yes.
and it's just on the other side of the where that bike path is going to be built, on this side of the river.
It was purchased in 1947 by the Bristol Water Company from the railroad.
It's a rectangular piece of property. It's going to be where that bike path eventually goes. Why they bought it from, apparently the railroad went out of business there. And they were selling off pieces, and Bristol County Water Company, or Bristol Water Company, bought it for, what did I say, $400?
Yeah,
$400.
$400.
Do we have a line that goes through it? You do have an easement that runs across through the housing authority.
There's nothing there.
This is a pretty large piece of property, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe an acre?
I was looking at one of the maps and I did notice that one.
It's very odd. It's kind I think it's landlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did look that way.
Does it bucket housing authority?
I don't think so. There's
We do have an easement
There's
goes
residential all around it.
through the housing authority.
It's right alongside where the railroad track right away is and where the bridge used to be, right? I guess where they're putting the bridge in.
For the lead service line replacement program, this work is ongoing. I have the chart, which can continue to be updated. And I also provided, for informational purposes on the agenda, only because it's a report, we can talk about that a little bit later. It's an annual report required by the state law. And the folks from the Rhode Island Rural Water Association, they are continuing to make appointments and conduct inspections for those properties that we had no information on the private service lines. They've started actually doing cold calling. After 3 letter notices that went to some properties and emails, now they're starting to call, and they've actually now, that number, Mike just told me, has jumped from 20% to 40%. They're actually getting a really good response rate for making the calls.
Did you say
Making
40?
appointments.
Did you say 40?
Yeah. And the Fountain Avenue tank, we received the results and we're just waiting on final technical memo, and then we'll share the information with the board and health, need to go to the Department of Health. But I think, as I mentioned to everybody before, we've been offline with the tank for a year now, and Barrington as a whole has seen improved fire flow and water system pressure throughout the town. purchases ticked up in the month of July, and so now for the year, we're kind of in line with the prior 5-year average. And the capital improvement budgets here. One of the things on the agenda item is the 2024 water main renewal project, which is currently under budget, or over budget, I should say. Did the annual report. So that concludes my report. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask about beta.
Yes.
Is that gonna be included in the other part of this?
What's that?
Their scheduling and so on and so forth. If we look at, they presented a schedule last month.
Yep.
Where do they stand on it this month? I know it was only 3 weeks ago, but are they proceeding with the submissions and so on and so forth?
It is ongoing, but no, there's been no specific milestones
I don't want,
changed.
I honestly don't want to hear 90% again.
Well, it's 90%.
It's just,
We have a schedule, my recollection from the special board meeting was that this is going to be the schedule, and we'll see if they are able to hold to the schedule that they themselves provided us.
so next month we should,
They know.
next month is the thing where everything clicks in, right?
I'm sorry?
Looking at their schedule,
Yeah,
next month, they should be giving us a report that says all of these things have been submitted.
No, the schedule says at the end of the year.
No, the
Gantt chart.
yeah, the Gantt chart for the various things, it said September they were going to be submitting the requests or the
they do show the blending and control station.
but that's the outside one, that's a December one, so the blending and control.
No, that's not what I was going to say. It does show a blue line ending at the end of September. So that's what you're saying.
So we should have pipeline roadway design by the end of September.
And
And along with 10-mile river crossing, rail crossing.
Right.
But all those items that are going to be completed by 90%, they all should be into permitting by the end of the year.
right.
So okay. So we should say that the 90 percentile thing is going to be report on that those are at 90%? We've been at 90% for.
Well, they've been approaching 90%. I don't have 90% plans in here.
So you might come on next one.
Mike, do you want to add anything?
Not too much else. Water quality monitoring, we continue that throughout the year. Summer is our anticipated high results for disinfection byproduct monitoring. So we're waiting, we did that sampling in August, we're waiting the results from that. Summertime is also our lead and copper monitoring. We completed that and no exceedances of any regulatory limits for that. Otherwise, busy in the system. Some of our properties, watershed properties, we still have to maintain, Shat Factory being one. So we have did some light maintenance, some lane clearings of light concrete work up at the spillway as a means to maintain compliance with, for that one, the Office of Dam Safety through the Commonwealth. Otherwise, the guys are busy supporting the contractor. had a couple service line breaks out there, so they've had some long nights. Those, unfortunately, they're not just in the winter, they're all year. So we're responding throughout. We've had some new people. We've also had a vendor come in, go over all our large tapping machines. Anybody that comes to us lately does not have much water utility experience. They're great people. We like them this way. It kind of works out. This way we train them, and they don't come in with bad habits. So, vendor came in, went over all of our tapping, from small taps, 1 inch, all the way up to our large drills that will do a 12-inch tap. So, that was good for everybody to see, including Colin. You got to see it up front. So that training was great. We also had a unique installation over the past few weeks in the capital improvement program where we had a line stop where mechanical equipment actually stopped the flow of water so we could then cut in a valve. So again, something very good for some of our new folks to see. Otherwise, I think
What was the SCADA setup that you did out with the Shad Factory Dam? What was that purpose behind that?
SCADA.
Isn't, yeah. Yeah, the first page of your report. It says,
Oh, that's so two separate things. Shad Factory Dam was concrete maintenance and land clearing. We had a remote site in the distribution system that we incorporated into SCADA.
all right, so it wasn't out at the Shad Factory?
No, sorry for the confusion.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this was a site that we worked with, a remote PRV site, special type of valve that moves water under certain different pressure conditions. Standalone site that we had to put in support of the high service expansion. So when we put it in, it was just kind of sitting there idling. We were monitoring it first via our remote monitoring system, which was a battery-based cell communication system, but we couldn't get the data into our SCADA system. So we hardened the site with utility feed, and then we worked with our SCADA vendor to develop a cell-based communication protocol that we could then tie into our SCADA system. So it's a secure cell-based system that now we're able to see the data, trend the data, and look at it in concert with all of our other SCADA data. So it was a good little project, and it'll be a good precedent for some of our other remote facilities that we can't get a radio on. We use direct radio communication for our other SCADA sites.
Thank you.
Could you tell me what the SCADA stands for, the acronym?
Supervisory control and data acquisition.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Already know
Did I pass that?
Oh, another acronym, here we go.
Anything you want to report on, Colin?
Sure, yeah, I just given some updates on the capital improvement project. So they quote unquote restarted their work in mid-July, and on Child Street, they've installed 176 feet of the water main duct line. And they have installed some appurtenances, including T's, gate valves, and the butterfly valve, and they did the line stop that Mike mentioned. They cut and capped the pipes coming from the water treatment plant, and they are pressure chlorination tested of the newly installed water main. They're waiting on the results of the chlorination now. And while they were waiting for the results, they went over to Gooding Ave as they started setting up the temporary bypass system. Also, something we've done recently was when we had the pre-construction meeting for this project, Bristol Fire Department had mentioned that on Gooding Ave, where we're going to be working, there's a stretch that doesn't have a fire hydrant. So we put together a change order to have Will and Fogarty install said fire hydrant in around the area. I believe it's right outside 47 Gooding Ave. So we've sent that to them. We're waiting on their signature and their schedule, but it's something we've talked about already.
The cost of a hydrant, $13,000 to install it.
Yeah, we didn't have a line item for it in the project.
What's a hydrant cost if we have our
Hydrant is $3,000. This also incorporates the crew's labor to excavate, install, and restore. So it includes payment costs and things like that.
I just take one out of the backyard or something and
That's still a lot.
No, it is. I'm just saying, it's $3,000 for that. You're 4 times the amount to replace one or do one and stuff. And plus you're gonna be digging there anyhow. You're just gonna go off to the side 20 feet.
Yeah, there's other components, even just the valve that they have to put in, that valve is $1,000.
Okay.
So there's,
All right.
there are some other embedded costs.
That's awesome. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I am too. You know, we look for efficiencies. This was one that there wasn't much because of the mill and overlay and overlapping responsibilities. This was
Okay.
the efficient one, unfortunately.
Dan, find the finance report?
Oh, sure. All right. We're up to month 5, year flying by. If we look at July's numbers, July versus July, we see that revenue's up just a little bit, 1.63%. Consumption for July was actually higher than consumption of compared to last July, just a little bit. Expenses for July versus last July are almost 10.5% higher. The 3 big ones are salaries and wages, operations. I'm gonna have to look into that, but we're actually under budget for the year, so I imagine it's just raises and overtime, and maybe just a little bit of timing. Water purchases increased versus last year, $44,000. We bought about 20 million more gallons versus last July. And those increases were offset by a little bit of a decrease in operations maintenance expense. Increase, shouldn't say offset. There was an increase in operation maintenance expense, and that was mostly, we got a gravel delivery this July that we didn't get last year, and there was a test in there for our calibration and testing of one of the meters. So that's a unique item in there for this July. When we look at through July, revenue's still just a little bit higher. Same as above. Expenses for July are just a little bit higher, 6.67%. The big ones, some of these are the same as last month. Professional fees, up about 71,000. We had the additional, hopefully close to final legal fees with North Farm. The audit fee this year was higher than it was last year. And there was some engineering fees in this year that we didn't have in the prior year. Hydraulic modeling is one of them. Water purchases is up for the year, about $41,000, Steve had mentioned. Operation maintenance expense is higher due to some additional landscaping. I like to call them the concrete Legos they got in the yard, tidying up the yard. And some that maintenance reimbursement that we issued to the town of Barrington in June. When we look at actual versus budget, page 6, revenues over budget by 7.5%. Current usage is just exceeding the budgeted usage for the 5 months. As I've kind of discussed in the past, we budget revenue a little conservatively with the inconsistencies in terms of revenue stream and warm weather, dry weather, hot weather. So that's why that's a good thing to be a little over budget there. Expenses are under budget by almost 6%. The 3 big ones this month, or through July, are employee benefits is under $33,600. Professional fees is under by $37,000, and purchased water
is under by about 118,000. The employee benefits one, I think it's a new one this month, we haven't had that one the last couple of months. The health insurance costs are a little bit lower than what we budgeted. I went back and looked at the budgeted amount versus what it actually came in at, because when we do the budget, we don't have the final actual, what the premiums are gonna be. Professional fees are a little bit lower due to some timing, and some consulting fees that we haven't quite hit the expenses as much as they should. I know we had another bill this month for it, and some building demo fees that haven't hit yet. And the purchase water is lower, it's just lower than we budgeted for consumption. Again, the consumption is based on the past, and I kind of allocated out, so we're just not using as much water as we had budgeted. Pages 7 through 9, dollars billed, gallon delivered, kind of tells a story. We had a really good month of July. We recovered about 5 million gallons in July. August should be a good month too. So through July, billings increased just under 1%, which offset the decrease in consumption of about 3.85%. And the difference is basically the rate increase. Like I said, we had July was a very good month. We had 5.2 million more gallons than we had for last July 2024. And Joe's run some preliminary numbers for August, and August looks like we'll pick up another few million gallons for the month. The page 10 at the trust fund report, the debt service ratio for July is 10.25, which is down a little bit from June. It was 10.48. And then the page 11 is the pension summary report that I mentioned before. I changed a little bit. It doesn't have an annual number anymore, but it really doesn't matter for July because July is the first month of the new pension year. So for the month of July, the fund increased about $17,600. That's just due to unrealized gains and contributions exceeding the fees and disbursements for the month. The balance at the end of July is 3.928 million. And again, this is the first month of the new pension year.
Dan, have we seen any money come in from North Farm, or do we have any communication on any of that?
Not yet. I know I was away when I came back. Joe had left our Joe had left an email from Joe Keogh to issue that credit and the like, but I don't think a payment was gonna come in for.
No, they have, I think, 60 days.
Yeah.
From the time the settlement agreements were signed this past month, so.
So how do you handle that? Is it seen as extra income?
No, it would be what handled that money. Well, the credit we issued is gonna end up getting offset against the allowance of doubtful accounts that we had already set at the end of every year. I basically allowed for whatever increase it was for the year. So it's been 100% allowed for every fiscal year end. So that $115,000 credit, I'll have to apply against the allowance to knock that down. Then the rest, yeah, I'll have to think about how that's gonna flow through. I'm just working on that $115,000 right now, so I gotta figure out how it's gonna come in from UMS and get dumped into QuickBooks. I guess the rest here would kind of be like other revenue, because in the past we have expensed it, so you're gonna have to offset it with, it's gonna show up as like an other income or other, I imagine.
So it's just gonna be a gain, that's what I expect. It was just gonna be a gain whenever we get from them, yeah.
The big thing is the cash, and that's the big thing really. Like I said, it's already been allowed for, so writing off the allowance and including that income will probably offset, theoretically it should offset 100%, so you won't see an increase in income, but there will be an increase in income offset by that allowance. The big thing is the cash.
I have a question. Wouldn't it just be applied against the receivable?
Yeah.
The receivable is 100% allowed for, so there is no receivable technically.
But the receivable is there. You haven't applied the allowance to the receivable.
Right.
So why don't you just apply the allowance to the receivable?
And then I'll have to reverse the allowance. Yeah, I'll have to reverse the allowance.
And then you would just do essentially a recovery of bad debt.
It's gonna debit cash, credit receivables, then I'm gonna have to reverse the allowance
Not
Yeah, but receivables and credit income, so it's gonna,
We can talk.
yeah,
The new show, we can talk later.
yeah.
You mentioned the new year for the pensions.
Yep.
Why did that happen?
The pension year is July 1st through June 30th.
It's always been that?
Yeah.
Oh.
They stopped.
I thought you said it was a new year. Well, you just meant it's a new year.
Yeah, it's a new year for them, yeah.
We're gonna get into the quarterly write-off in a minute, but I'll ask the question now. Is, when looking at the report, the biggest category for the write-offs is residential tenants. $10,353.18. Right, okay. And so, I'll ask a question I've asked before in the past. Why do we bill tenants? I know you don't have the answer, but it's a historical question, and I don't even know how many water agencies in Rhode Island bill tenants. I feel like it's only Bristol County Water Authority.
They started doing it for, I don't know when, but they've been doing it for a long time. And I think that they found it hard to get out of it.
I know, when we talked about changing it, we got murdered. There was a meeting in the auditorium at Bristol High School.
Yeah, I think I was there.
Yeah, you were one of those people complaining, weren't you?
I know in other places where I had owned property and I was the landlord, I was billed, and the other water districts never had a problem collecting from the landlord, so I never understood why Bristol County Water Authority made this kind of change.
You can ask
And
Joe.
it shows up here that that's the biggest amount that we're writing off is for college kids. So,
Oh, they have a hard time collecting from property owners too, though. The ones that do, just bill the property owners.
And if somebody moves from like one apartment to another apartment in our area,
yeah,
Joe tags them on the other side.
right.
So if they move from Warren to Bristol, or Bristol to Warren or Barrington, they think they're gonna get away with it. Joe, when they go to open up their new account, slides that balance over to their new account. So that's nice. The only problem you said, if students or somebody moves out of our service area.
No, I can appreciate all that. I just look down here and I say, oh, it's the residential tenants.
Joe Granata can give you history, he's been around.
But anyway, the next item on the agenda is the board member town council reports. Anybody have anything for that? No. The next item is the quarterly write-off for information only. We just talked about it. Does anybody have any other questions about it? Okay, we're moving on. The 2025 service line report for information only.
Yes, I include this as an agenda item only because for the Rhode Island Lead Poisoning Prevention Act, which involves, heavily involves water suppliers and replacing the lead service lines, becomes, there's a lot of reporting associated with that. And this is our first annual report. And per the state law, said report goes to the office of the governor, president of the Senate, speaker of the House, director of the Department of Health, and the executive director of the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. So I thought that board members should see these reports first before they go to all the other state offices. So, there's really no surprises, as you know, what's reported here kind of mirrors the lead replacement chart information that I provided in my report. But essentially it's a form report that's provided by the health department. So the first page is kind of district wide. It basically tells how many public side service lines are lead. We have one remaining one. There's 8 galvanized that we're aware of. And total service lines, how many lines that were replaced. And we show 59 public replaced, 14 public galvanized. And then we estimate how many we're gonna to replace in the coming year. Average cost is about $4,000. And then the next page gets into the private side service lines. How many leads, how many galvanized line requirement replacement, which is 800. And then there's the unknown number of service lines, which is the number we continue to try and bring down with the program that we're working with the consultant. And the average cost of replacement for a private side service line. So, and then the following pages, the actual breakdown for each community. Credit to Mike and his team to get kind of keeping all this information on track. It's a lot of information between all the service lines, the types of materials that each line encompasses, meeting all our requirements for the state law.
Question, Steve.
Yes.
I know this goes to everybody from in state government.
Yes.
Would it be a suggestion to submit to the individual councils or the town?
I think that's a good suggestion.
Just to say, hey, this is just for information only.
Yes.
This is the status of everything in your pick your town.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because you'll get a call. That's
No,
what I have.
Actually, I was surprised that, like, when you see the list of offices that this needs to get sent to, but then not to the actual towns.
Either the administrator or
That's not a problem. Yeah.
thank you.
Next item on the agenda is formal water treatment plant buildings for discussion. Mr. Kutu.
Yes, so I didn't write a memo on this. We put the RFP out, the deadline came and went, and I was a little surprised that we got nothing, to be honest with you. I thought we might get at least maybe a letter of interest, maybe they wouldn't, maybe someone could have put together a full proposal, but just given some of the kind of cursory interest that we had in the fall from some members of the business community in the area, I really thought that we'd at least get something. But
I thought sure there'd be something.
we get it tonight. We got nothing.
After the articles in the local papers, I thought sure there'd be somebody here. Make sure we didn't just vote to tear it down while they're not here.
Yeah. Well, this is for discussion only. I mean, we're not, this is
I know,
not for action.
I know.
I kind of
Yeah,
just want to hear what everyone else has to their thoughts on this.
It is just very disappointing from my perspective because there was so much interest, in quotes, expressed over the last couple of years about why we needed to save these buildings. And I would have thought that the people who we had interactions with would have been much greater community salespeople to get these buildings saved as they wanted them to be saved. And then to read the article in the newspaper about the local
How beautiful the building is.
and that any good architect would have a ball with it.
With this,
Well, I guess if he brings a ball, he would have a ball. But, and that there's nothing about these two buildings that's insurmountable at all, except for maybe having the money to go and do something with them.
beautiful ceilings.
And, it's very doable. It was state-of-the-art building when it was built, 118 years ago. And making the big sales pitch that it could become an ice cream joint. That's the word that's used.
I vote for
An ice cream joint, not
the
even
ice cream
a
bar in the
parlor.
annex.
See if they come down.
Yeah, to have the ice cream bar come down to the.
Do you know what you'd have to pay for an ice cream cone?
Oh, that's a.
But it's, I don't understand how these two articles appeared. Because one is very complimentary and upbeat, and then the other one is, we didn't do anything. So it's just very odd.
even though it's vague, you know, nobody showed up for the meeting if they had questions.
And I'm surprised that there wasn't somebody who really wanted the building. He came here and said, hey, you know, give me more time, you know, whatever. But it's unfortunate. As a preservationist myself, serving on the Bristol Historic Preservation Society, I don't find the two buildings up there particularly historic or interesting or architecturally significant. But I was hoping we'd be able to find somebody who would do something. So maybe somebody will show up tomorrow, but we'll see. I'm always
I'd like, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest that the property committee get together sometime within this month and come forward with a recommendation.
I'll talk to the chairman of that committee and we'll set up a meeting.
Please do.
Okay.
And that way we could get resolved whatever we're gonna do. Hey, you better go another week.
Just to update the board with respect to utilities at those buildings, part of the utility work that we've been doing in the street, over there on Child Street, all of the pipelines that came from the old plant have been disconnected and capped, so that no water go out to the system, or there's no water going into the buildings as well either, so those all have been cut and capped. And the electric service will be terminated. Has it been terminated?
I don't believe yet, it will be. The gas is off.
Gas is off.
Gas will be dug and severed as well.
So it will be, all utilities will be cut off. And we've already alerted the fire chief of those actions. So.
Just don't turn off the heat because it'll start to deteriorate.
No, it's
And so moving on, the next seven items required board action. The first being regarding the purchase of a Ford Explorer.
Another Ford. Another Ford, I have a bid.
Yeah, they don't last. That's why it's always replacing them.
You're not on the
We only purchase Fords here.
That's the only word they can spell, that's why they.
So we're looking to purchase a Ford Explorer to replace an older Ford Escape.
Escaped.
And we have, we received proposals from 3 vendors on the master price agreement. With the low bidder coming from Tasker Ford at $31,750, and that also includes the trade.
Does it have heat and air conditioning for that price? It's awfully low, I thought.
Motion to approve $31,700.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion, any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Do we consider, when we do our analysis, lease versus buy? And then
We do
second,
not.
and then, is there any reason why we don't consider?
We just purchasing vehicles outright.
We pretty much use them longer than the lease would last anyways. Probably more efficient just to buy them out. I mean, we have some trucks there that are not super old, but more than 5 years old easy, right?
Yeah.
Interest rates are pretty high as well.
Yeah. If we don't do the analysis, we better somehow we know for sure. So, second question is, do we consider electric vehicle?
Not in this instance.
And is there a reason for that?
Right now, we're not set up for them.
Will it be something that we'll deal with the new
Yes.
maintenance garage?
Yes.
Steve, tell them you don't have to be set up for
Okay, we have a motion, a second, and some discussion. Any more questions, comments, thoughts? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
It's hard and you gotta vote for a Ford. That's like voting for a Republican.
Chris, this was a public meeting. It's recorded.
Next item is regarding the BCWA board room.
Yes. So, I just wanted to bring this to the board's attention. This is something that we as a staff have been kind of kicking around actually for quite some time. We're talking about improving the technology within the boardroom for audio-visual needs, and maybe the potential for streaming the meetings. I know a lot of the communities have gone that way, particularly with, during the time of COVID. And then also kind of, make improvements to the furniture, the tables. If we're gonna improve the technology, that the tables need to be able to have that capability. But it's not, besides the audio visual and the technology needs, the biggest cost driver is the furniture for something like this. So we do have an approved capital budget of $75,000 currently for boardroom improvements. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we need to spend $75,000, but we do have a conceptual budget put together here. If you look at the next page, some different layouts we can kind of play with. I still think that this kind of arrangement kind of does suit the room best. But before we really kind of go further with this and start getting quotes and prices and that, just wanted to know what the board's feeling is on spending this kind of money to do something like this.
Any comments, questions?
Pretty expensive tables and chairs.
We said we had chairs.
Chairs are done.
I think the ability to have, what we should have, obviously, is the overhead system that could be controlled over there to start and stop whatever's being recorded. And, from that perspective, and you need to have at least one TV back here. You can't just throw it up and not use an old LCD projector.
You're looking for a smart board.
We'd probably do a large television here.
Not just a TV, but a smart board is interactive, so instead of using a projector, it's all.
Yes.
They're a lot of money. That would be the only thing. We'd have to watch budget on the smart board because they're significantly more than a monitor.
I go with the technology as opposed to the. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would address this, but this side of the table is at a distinct disadvantage when there's a presentation that is going on beyond.
About the TV right there.
And then you have the issue with the audience. And I don't know if you put the chairs to one side facing sort of diagonal, or maybe even turn this on the diagonal or something.
It lends itself to having multiple TVs.
Right. Well, we were thinking of one here and then maybe one on this wall.
Yeah, if you have multiples, then everybody can not have to twist their neck and just look at it.
Well, you could change the configuration so that everybody's just on facing this way as opposed to facing that way, right? Or that the view you could be sitting there.
Then my back's to my audience. No,
That's never here.
We did look at having like a table going this way, right? So you would go kind of backs to the windows.
Yeah, that's a possibility too.
Who did we have come in to design anything? Or is it just everybody around here sitting around saying?
Yeah, we've just been kind of spitballing and knowing that these conversations kind of were used to develop the order of magnitude of what this would look like.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever we do, if we do U-shape this way, U-shape that way, it all came back to what do we want to spend on furniture.
Mm.
That is the biggest cost driver for this. So
If you flip this table around and put it off into that corner, semicircular, and then you had the audience over here. It would be an easier thing for the audience to turn to the right to see something going on over here. And then all board members could see this way. I don't know.
Or you could have the screen down there and have a camera at the top looking this way, and then if the public was here, you could be on the two sides.
Yeah.
In my old career up in Boston, that's what we did. And of course, the camera would move to the person who was speaking.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but it's expensive.
I would agree with Chris, though. I think if we're gonna invest in something, I'd invest in the technology, not the furniture. I'm perfectly happy with your furniture.
These two,
For the hour a month, 2 hours a month that I spend here.
these two tables came from American Tourister when they left town.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll keep our eye out for, for surplus furniture to maybe to like match, so it all matches, but,
Is there any in the building? It's like
we can further, yeah.
How about moving over there?
If
No, they turned the power off.
if there's more to improve the technology, we can certainly do that, and then it's not gonna be,
I think when you
before we'll come to the board and let you know what we're planning on spending on the technology, but,
Okay, so we're not gonna approve anything yet
No.
tonight?
No, I think the public would have to use the technology so they can see it in streaming with the laughing camera that pops up. And
yeah.
it's a hard sell for $60,000
Yeah.
office table.
That's used a couple hours a month.
Yeah.
They use for other meetings.
Very good. Thank you.
Next item is the board vote on amendment number 3 to data engineering.
Okay, as I mentioned, we had the presentation early in August. And we actually received this amendment request back on June 13th. And I have a breakdown of the added costs associated with the design work. So it's mainly for the 10 Mile River crossing, some additional geotech fees, but then the biggest cost design driver is the blending and control station. And the reason being is that initially this project was going to have, Bristol County was going to have their own station. We were going to design it, operate it. East Providence was going to design and operate their own station. But then as we got into this, we started looking at some of the chemical storage needs and the location of where we were initially going to plan our, put the station. And as we started talking to the engineers and also along with East Providence, it just seemed to make a lot more sense to just build one station and have that located at a secure facility that's already a water supply facility at their storage tanks.
Steve, what is contemplated if East Providence decides not to participate in the project at the end? And where does that facility end up?
We would still have the facility. It would be located in East Providence at the Kenites. We currently have a metering station within the Kenites facility. So this would just be an additional structure.
There'd be costs associated with that for rent or some other charge?
A cost to us?
Yeah, I mean, having our assets on their property.
No, but there's going to obviously be an operational agreement between the two. One of the things we're going to have to work through is who's going to be responsible for it. And I think ultimately it's going to be Bristol County. And, you know, that operation agreement will likely have some type of cost sharing agreement with respect to chemical, and that could be kind of flow apportioned. And also likely, you know, operational expenses or maintenance expenses, if Bristol County is going to be taking the lead on it.
I assume the city owns the land.
The city owns the land. And there is land for this.
Did the original contract not include design of a blending and control station?
It did,
Oh, it was just for us, right?
just for us, and it was to be located on land owned by Knights of Columbus, located at Pawtucket Avenue and Village Green North. They have their building there, and it would be just kind of like almost between their parking lot and the roadway. But actually, the size of this thing would actually probably take up some of the parking lot.
So the, going forward with this design at the location, at the Lee's Providence location, it would save us cost in trying to acquire land and or easements to the Knights of Columbus
Yes.
property. And because we'll be sharing the costs on this, it should all be less. But I'm sort of still wondering why why there'd be another $290,000 for the design of this. But is it completely different than what was envisioned?
It's not, other than it's a different location and it's going to be bigger. And it's going to, there's going to be kind of like a flow split between each water supplier.
Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may have a few minutes.
Sure.
Steve, I understand your position in recommending this, but it seems to me that right now Beta's got us by the short hair. We can't do anything else. We can't go any other direction. But I just want to say I personally am very disappointed in their performance over the years. I know you heard me say before, but in the 70s and 80s, I served as chairman of the Water and Sewer Commission. We built a secondary treatment plant, rebuilt 3 old existing pump stations. We put interceptors in, put in street ladders. We had to get easements, we had to condemn land, we had to do all the same problems anybody has in construction. We designed and built that in less time than it's taken them to design a pipeline. I mean, this mythical 90% that we keep hearing about, I have no faith that we're going to see 90% by the end of the year. So it may be only symbolic, but I'm going to vote no on this issue.
Understood. Any other thoughts, comments?
Well, it's the question, what if? What if we get to December 31st? And they don't hit the milestone? Is there any recourse?
They'll change the date.
That's what it would be. You can't do anything. You can't do anything at this stage.
We withhold payments. Potentially look at legal remedies.
So we reject this, does that send a message?
We approved their recommendations and they put it on the back burner for another period of time. And when we did all that work, it was done with hand drawings on the drafting table. These guys have got computers today to make everything.
Now, if we didn't approve this, or if we put it on hold for approval, what does that do in terms of the schedule? In your opinion?
There is budget remaining. There would be no work on the blending and control station. likely not get final plans on the 10 Mile River crossing. But they can continue work to get the 90% roadway plans. And I would also think 90% on the railroad crossing, bridge over the railroad. I would say for the most of the project, you should get to the 90% stage, just adequate funding for that.
I appreciate your concerns, but I don't see what we would gain by not approving. And as John said, we're sort of stuck.
Yeah, it won't gain anything, basically.
I believe several months ago, we asked when we did hear about the combined blending station, what percentage of the standalone blending station has been completed and how much can it be used going forward, whether you increase the size of the pump, the size of the chemical holdings, so on and so forth. All the pieces, I believe, have been designed to date for a single standalone. So the magnitude increases by threefold or whatever it is, how much of that can be brought forward? What it was just $300,000 or whatever it was for the standalone blending station. How much of that can go over to where we're going now? We didn't buy any property or do anything at the Knights of Columbus, but they designed a station.
They're at 30%. A lot of the work, even getting there though, had to do with providing all the analysis required and convincing the Department of Health that that we could actually take Pawtucket water and blend it with the province water and without no impact on our system.
Steve, how often do you hear from them? Every week? I would think they'd call you every day with a contract like this.
Every couple of weeks.
About or every weeks,
Excuse me?
every couple of weeks, or, okay.
Now, the geotech investigation work that's noted here, it says costs incurred. So they've already done that work, they just don't have it in their contract to get paid.
Correct.
The blending and control station, if we pulled that out for, the moment. Because that's not going to really affect the overall project schedule.
The schedule by that's the last thing in the whole line.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
You're not gonna, if you stop that now, they're gonna stretch it out next month.
No, but we can still get everything else done and ready to go. And the station is a standalone unit.
I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that much as I hate to disagree with anybody, but we have to approve this basically as a board to go forward. But I would ask that with the board's backing, that they get a letter from us, we're approving this, but we expect schedules to be met and
we will express and
have AI write us a strong letter or something and submit it. I certainly, I can't use the right words, but we need to tell them we're very concerned about any stretch in the schedule or any stretch in the dollars, and we need to keep to this schedule that you presented on August 6th. If we don't have a monthly report on all of the schedules, we need to have you come in and say, hey, where are we and what the problem?
And I would even add to that we have them at every meeting between now and the end of the year to give us a brief presentation to us, just to hold their
So
feet to
they
the
can
fire.
send it through the executive director, but we still need to have something other than, I hate to say it again, Steve, but the 90%. What's the status of each of these crossings? What's the status of the boring? What's the status of everything? Did you submit the permits? Did we get any permits? Did you get anything other than 90%?
Steve and I can put together a strongly worded letter to them. What I was adding here is that to keep them aware that we are very concerned, as we want them to come and report to us directly.
That'd be fine.
At every meeting between now and the time they get the design done. It's that big of a project, as you said, John. And it should be that big of a project to them as well.
Steve, you envision that their involvement's gonna continue well beyond this phase, right? I mean, how much longer, I mean, are they here for the duration, or is it end at some point?
The contract takes it all through award of contract to a contractor.
Okay.
But it does not include additional, like construction administration, inspection. That would be an additional. And then if we decide to keep,
Yeah.
stay with it.
So is it, again, just throwing out an idea here, is it, again, we're struggling with the same thing. We know they're an integral part of this process. We're kind of frustrated with the timing. We'd like to have a little bit of teeth in this, but is it easy to put teeth in there? Is it feasible to ask for, if they don't meet deadlines, that there is some type of credit for future work?
Some type of what?
Credit for future work.
Basically a penalty.
It's not in the original agreement, I don't think.
If there's credit for future work,
Well, if we're gonna continue with them,
yes.
all right, I would say, we probably will be using you in the long term, but we want a credit on the next phase if you don't meet timelines on this phase.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's tricky.
You have to talk.
It's tricky, I understand, I'm just trying to find
I think
something.
it's
It's
legal.
not-
We need to talk to
It's
Joe.
not unheard of, but it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, you're making changes to
Changing engineers at the end of a design, because the new engineers that come in are gonna wanna go through that design to make sure they're comfortable with being the construction managers and so forth, but,
Do we approve all but the blending station, hold that until we see significant improvements in the timeline?
The only thing is, we don't want to delay this for too long.
Correct.
Because you definitely need, if we're going to build this pipeline. My only thought, particularly with the blending and control station, and I don't have a problem if the board decides to pull this item out at this time. Because one thing that I have not received back in anything in writing from is these province. They received the amendment at the same time that we received it, on June 13th. And I haven't received anything definitive back from them that they're going to move forward with it.
There's another reason too,
Yeah,
because if they don't approve that it's on our own,
correct.
which means we
But-
don't need.
But we're gonna go on our own, eh?
what you said and what I was saying is to hold that one back, and my thinking on that was, well, let's see if they can hold to the schedule with less of the work being given to them. And, okay, get to the end of December and say they've met all the requirements, but we don't have the blending and control station designed. All right, well then design it now. It's only 3 months between now and the end of December, so the project slips 3 months. I think we could afford that. And I think we want to do something to get their attention. We can send a strongly written letter for sure.
But I mean, I think if you're losing $290,000 plus, that
That
gets
gets
back
your
up.
attention.
We also don't have a firm commitment
From
to
these
lead at this
properties.
point, and that's something that you need.
But the board's position all along has been if the East Providence drops out, we're still going forward, so.
If East Providence does not play, do you go back to the design of the blending station that was gonna be done at,
I don't think so, but I still would like to get some commitment to put that station at Ken Heights.
even if they don't play?
If they don't play them, I mean, yeah, if they don't, we can still have a station there. Sure.
Yeah, but would it be the size of whatever you wanted to use at the Knights of Columbus?
Is it
Because obviously you wouldn't be giving East Providence any water. So the amount of water that you would be blending for yourself would be size-wise less than
But
the two.
does that require a doubling of the size of the facility? I would not think so, but I don't know.
I don't think you'd be reduction.
To include East Providence. If we were to build the facility by itself, it would be one half the size of the facility.
It'd be the size of whatever you were planning to build at the Knights of Columbus right now.
Right. But what I'm saying is if we're building a facility for both Bristol County and East Providence, is it twice the size?
And that's what he was saying. You gotta increase the size of the chemicals and the pumps and so on and so forth. But still, if East Providence doesn't give us an obligation, this is what we're gonna go with. It's gonna be a
Right.
single station.
I'm just saying, I don't think it would be twice the size, it would be 1.5 times the size.
So whatever it's gonna
The
be,
building side of that, I don't know exactly.
the magnitude of it is not the thing. If they're not gonna play, you're just gonna go with the
And then
single.
what do we save in terms of design if we were only going to design a smaller facility? And we're not going to get a positive response from East Providence overnight either, which would also cause delays in the scheduling. So maybe we should just go forward. There are two options on the table. It's to go forward, approve this as is. Well, there's three. Approve this as is, don't approve it, take the 290 out, the blending station out. Right there. Any other thoughts on this? I'll look at the other side of the table.
I still don't see a gain in pulling parts out or not going forward. And in terms of East Providence, at this point, it's simply their commitment to pay the next piece on the design and not for the total project.
Correct me if I'm wrong, East Providence has paid for all of their obligations so far through to.
What we've requested of them, yes.
Yeah.
They paid up to 60% design. The next milestone would be at 90%.
So they've given no indication of plan.
Okay, so to get this moving, Steve and I will send out a joint letter that's strongly worded that expresses the board's concern about their commitment to the project and getting the project done in a timely fashion. That's a given. To go forward tonight, I'll say now, let's approve the whole thing.
I'll move to that, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. I was
Move
gonna
to that
say,
effect. I'm trying to find the
I
number for
was
that.
just gonna say, I'll ask for a motion to that effect. We have a motion, do I have a second? So the motion is to, as stated in Steve's memo, to approve approve amendment number 3 to Beta Group for 46,723 and the new contract total of 2418 owes 54.50 with the condition that the plans associated with all aspects of the project, with the exception of the blending and control station, be completed to the 90% stage and submitted for permitting to various regulatory agencies before December 31st in accordance with the schedule as presented by Beta Group on August 6th, 2025, presentation to the board of directors. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion of that motion?
I'm going to
Thoughts?
support John.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments?
I'd like to see the letter go out to the board for approval prior to being submitted to Beta.
So you want to do all this wordsmithing? That's okay.
No, I'm not gonna words, as I said, AI, we would
No,
say.
that's okay.
It's a letter representing all of us, so we should all see
Yeah,
it.
okay,
I'd like to see it before it gets signed
We'll
by
do that. We'll do that.
Steve and you and sent out just to say, what are we doing?
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We have reservations that have been expressed. All those in favor of the motion as presented by the director in his memo, say aye.
I think you need to raise hands.
Yeah.
Raise your
That would
hands.
go.
With the letter, modified for the letter going out.
Yeah, I said that's a given in any case.
With Bob's add-on to that.
Yeah, I just want to see the letter before you guys send it out. That's all.
Okay, I don't think it needs to be part of the motion, but
It doesn't.
we'll make it part of the motion, if that it makes it better. All right, so, with a show of hands, all those in favor of the motion raise their right hand. No left hands.
Oh, all right.
Right hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, raise their right hand. 3. The vote 6-3 carries, and the motion is approved.
Chris,
Yeah.
when we're passing something like this,
Yep.
Do we need
does every town have to be represented?
Don't we need a vote from each town?
I don't think so. You'd have to go back to the enabling legislation
I don't know.
to be absolutely 100% sure. That'd be a question for Joe. I don't.
What is the question?
He wants to know if at least one representative. And I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I'm uncertain of that.
Well, we saw.
There are some votes that have
No,
that
but-
stipulation.
That's when you're
We
voting.
have
I'm not sure if that's-
voting
That's
against
in the
it.
elections, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that applies to this.
I think that was in the elections, wasn't it?
That could be. No.
I seem to recall something about capital improvements requiring a vote,
Something like that.
positive vote from each community.
Well, rate changes,
Rate changes.
I think it
So
is.
not
Rate
capital
changes.
improvements. We have a positive vote for that. We will check with legal counsel to see if that vote is a legal vote, and a proper vote. If it is, we will go forward with it. In any case, Steve and I will draft a letter. You'll all get to see it and comment on it.
Tell Beta that it was 6-3, and maybe that'll shake them up.
I don't think we have to say that, it's public record, but I don't know if we have to say that. But anyway, if we find out the vote is illegal, we'll deal with it at that time. And you may be called back for a special meeting. Okay, let's move on. And the next item is project budget increase for the 2024 water main rehabilitation project. Stephen.
So this project, the contractor is Ducon. And most of the work, actually all the work has been, all the utility work has been completed. What remains is final pavement restoration of all the cuts in the roadways. A lot of it is in the state roads as well. And Colin's going through the numbers with respect to how much is needed for the paving work and what remaining in the budget. And the long and short of it is the budget needs to get amended if we're going to do the final permanent paving restoration. As I dove into this though too, we had an approved project budget of 2.7 million for this contract. And the contract itself was just a little under 2.5. Now, for contingencies and police control and inspections, and it's all that kind of gets thrown into the pot as far as the budget goes. And so the contingency was under 9%, so 8.8% of that. And generally we have a much higher kind of wiggle room, for lack of better terminology. We're usually around 26 to 30%. So, and we did incur, significant costs on traffic control and inspections, really due to the nature of the work. It wasn't a production-based job where they're just running, putting in long stretches of pipe. It was service-related work on busy state roadways, and oftentimes they only did one service line a day. But the work I completed, we had minimal actual change orders associated with the contract work, like 2% of the contract value. So to complete the project, we're looking for an additional $350,000 to bring the total project budget to $3,050,000.
Steve, should this be looked at as a one-of, or is this going to be the pattern for future projects?
The pattern for future projects?
The cost of the traffic and the like being much more than we had projected in the past.
No. Generally it's not, and most projects we come in under budget. But it's really sometimes right now it's becoming difficult to estimate construction costs. So how we end up with the contingency is we have an approved capital budget, right? So we have a number to play with. So this year it was $2.7 million, right? We design a project and we design it using, estimated costs, and we include traffic details, we include inspection work, we include when we think the contract's going to cost. So we're significantly under that $2.7 million. In this case, the low bid came in just under $2.5 million. So our contingency was not, it was really tight, looking at $2.7 million. So, going forward, we just have to make the project tighter, or we have to work it within, let's try to assure we don't go over that budget.
Are you comfortable with Ducon's original scope of the project and what actually transpired? They underestimate what had to be done, or?
No, it wasn't Ducon.
Oh.
It wasn't Ducon.
It's only 2%, right?
Yeah, and the change orders associated with Ducon was work that we had requested of them to do.
Right, but you made a comment earlier that, some of it was taking longer than expected. So.
I think it took that, but we were paying them on a unit price contract.
Sure.
So even though it took them an entire day to do a job, we're still paying them for doing that one service.
Right.
So it wasn't any benefit to them that they had crews out there longer than we thought. But on the flip side of that, we had traffic control people, police officers out there longer than we had anticipated.
Right.
So if you follow, so we're not paying, we weren't paying.
Yeah,
we're not in debt
yeah.
yet.
No, I'm just thinking, you're comfortable with them, not that, the scope is what happened, and it's not because they underestimated the scope that we had the additional cost.
The work,
With the police and that
the
stuff.
work got completed.
Right,
The work got completed to our satisfaction.
right.
The work did not get completed as quickly as we thought it would.
Which affected the
Correct.
police and all the other stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
And is that by state law, it has to be police for these projects, or is there any other alternative?
It's not state law, it's by town.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And in Rhode Island,
Supposing we hired a retired policeman, put him on our payroll, and he could just go out and handle the traffic at the construction jobs.
so talk to your warrant council.
So budgets are just estimates, and I know, Colin, this was before your time, so it wasn't his budget. But is there any lessons learned here from a budget going forward, I guess is my question.
Well, we're learning that construction costs are a lot higher. They've gone up significantly. And it's not just our utility work, but the paving costs are really going up significantly. So,
Old cruisers from the town, just put them on each end.
you know, a $2 million contract doesn't buy us a whole lot. Or a $2 million budget just doesn't buy us a whole lot.
So it's basically a difficult process right now, budgeting.
Can you,
God.
I don't know if you,
That's why the patrolman made more than
this
the
is in
chief.
here or not. The police inspections and contingencies, can you divide that up amongst those three easily? Even just a rough guess as to what percentage to each of those three categories. Any feel for that?
For inspection, I would have to find the actual,
Okay.
maybe, I might even have like an email or something.
Because the questions that being asked, I'm wondering, well, if there's a lesson to be learned in what area we could be.
Well, you only, of the 546,000, the change orders were 50. So you had roughly $500,000 in these detailed inspections.
Yeah, I think it was roughly $150,000 in inspections, with the balance being police. Police was high due to the locations of the work. It required multiple cruisers and officers per site sometimes, given the locations on Hope Street and whatnot.
Especially on dead ends.
So the police were probably
That's right.
$100,000.
We paid for a cruiser to be there too, as well as the man, right?
Yeah, that's on the invoice.
Police were roughly 350.
350, okay.
Yeah, we pay for the officer, the cruiser, and then an administration charge of 20% on top of that
To the police department.
to the town.
Administration charge. No, to the town.
Mhm.
For them to just call the guy up and tell him he's gotta go do a police.
Or whatever, to send the bill.
It's a tough cost to control.
Profit center percent.
Okay.
Motion to approve the increase the total project budget for the 2024 water main rehab project from 2.7 million to 3,050,000.
Second.
Second, any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And the next scheduled meeting is September 25th.
September 27th.
Second.
Let's talk about scheduling the finance council meeting, or finance committee meeting.
We can do that.
Offline.
Offline.
Perfect.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Oh,